Welcome. This is For Better and Worth,
the podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka Young. And we're so glad you joined us today.
All right, y'all, come on. Let's get into it. Hey guys, we're back at it again here at the For Better and Worth podcast.
Yes, we're excited to be with you. We are celebrating some milestones and
Whoop, whoop.
Yes, if we had confetti, that's what will be happening right now. But we have celebrated 6 months of being consistently on this podcast.
You know, I'm more of the air spray gun,
Oh, Lord.
The spray string.
Oh, okay. You said guns, so that
Well,
sounds like
you know what I'm saying. It
sound like weapons.
Well, I like weapons. It's more like the spray string, the silly string. I'm firing it off right now.
Did you hear that?
I don't know what that was.
Was that sound effects, babe?
Yeah, I should just use the sound panel, but
So we're celebrating
absolutely, people.
6 months and 10,000 downloads. Woo, woo, woo! So thank you guys for listening, for tuning in. Hopefully this content has been great. And today we kind of got a little special guest for you.
Hey.
Wait. Hold on.
Hey.
Not yet. Roll back. But anyway, we wanted to make sure that we just added another perspective. We just try and keep adding additional dynamics and components to the podcast here. So we have our eldest child online with us.
Hey.
My firstborn baby, Faith Young. Woo woo!
What's up?
So welcome, Faith, to the podcast. Welcome to the show.
This is so exciting. I was told that I am the second ever guest on the podcast. It's an honor.
That's right. We try and keep the conversation between your mother and I and dropping nuggets along the way. But, sometimes we got to press pause and we got to bring some other people into the studio so they can share some of their insights. So we hope to get some insights from you.
Yes. So we're just really glad that you're here. So thanks for coming into the studio, and give our listeners a little background about where you are in life so that they have a feel for who Faith Young really is right now.
Oh, gosh. Well, I live in Minneapolis right now. I just moved there a year ago after I graduated from Purdue last year. And I am an associate buyer at Target, living on my own, trying to figure out adulthood and stuff. Just living life, doing the best I can.
Remember when you graduated high school and you were leaving the auditorium? You were one of the last students to actually leave because, they went in alphabetical order and Y is at the end. And do you remember what your mama said to you?
Honestly, that was a very ridiculous day, so no.
I said, you still ain't grown.
Dang. That's so crazy.
And now you kind of are grown, Faith. How do you feel about that?
Sometimes I feel grown, sometimes I don't. I feel like a stack of children in a trench coat sometimes.
What? Now that's funny. That's a really funny.
What is that about?
I feel like I experience a lot of imposter syndrome as an adult. But sometimes I feel like, oh, you know what? I think I did a very good adult job today. But it really depends.
Look, you graduated from college, and you're to be commended for that because that's a big accomplishment. And now you're out here in these real streets with a big girl, real world job.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
How does that feel?
It's a lot. It can be really stressful. It can be kind of cool sometimes. I get paid, be like, oh, payday, yay. But it's definitely been a learning experience for the past year.
So what about it is stressful versus when payday comes?
So I work a corporate job, and it's a very different experience from being in school full time and being an undergraduate student. Going straight into corporate work life is kind of this, like, experience that no one really prepares you for. It's very, very different. So it took me a while to learn how to build a routine for myself, and I feel like I'm still trying to do that in a lot of ways. But yeah, and then the job itself brings its own level of stressors, trying to learn how to build relationships with your coworkers and learning all new things for my job on the fly. It's all just compiled together. Makes it a lot.
Look, we told you these streets out here get cold sometimes. Because the corporate life and the real world grind is something else. And as parents, we really tried to prepare you, but some of it you're only going to be prepared by getting experience and doing it yourself. And so you know what the podcast is about. We talk about relationships and we talk about money. And you've had the privilege of growing up in our household and you've been able to witness both of those because you've seen me and your mom and you've seen, our relationship and our journey with money. And so when you think about how you've taken some of those things that you've observed or learned, what would you say was something that you took away with you that's you're applying now in your real world big girl life?
I feel like you already know what I'm going to say, and I feel like you're going to be proud of me for saying this.
Ooh, come through. Let's go.
But I think Dad specifically had lessons that he drilled into us our entire lives.
Would
and
you
it's
call it a
burned
lecture?
Into my head, and I will never forget it ever, ever in life, ever. But I think he always talked about being spiritually, socially, and financially responsible. And we had to know how to solve problems and make decisions. And so I would think about that a lot when I would find myself in like stressful situations or moments where things were getting kind of tough, trying to figure out how to be this adult me. But yeah, we talked about that a lot growing up.
Tell me about this father of yours. He sounds like a guy who is
Oh gosh,
riddled with wisdom.
here we go.
That's right. Here we go again. This guy.
Well, no, seriously, I appreciate you saying that because as parents, and I know parents that are listening, we all have this fear about being able to make sure that we do enough to prepare and equip our children that when they get out into the real world, they can survive on their own. And that they won't be those boomerangs that end up, going out and then coming back. Because it's not that we wouldn't embrace you back, but we want you to be able to go out and accomplish and stand on your own 2 feet and do the things that you need to do to live the life that you want to live and lead.
Yeah, so talk to us about this financially responsible portion. How do you feel 1 year in to your, first job out of college? How do you feel you're doing on that? And, do you feel like you're applying some of the things that you've learned in this house?
I feel very okay right now. I do think I've taken a lot of what you've taught me over the years and have been implementing it. I still use the budget template you gave me last year.
That makes me so happy. I feel so proud.
I think my biggest struggle right now is actually remembering to fill it out at the beginning of every month, looking at it monthly, and just kind of keeping updated with it. But I still use it every month to keep track of all of my expenses and things. Yeah.
So do you think having a budget has helped you, has grounded you, has it constrained you? Like, what do you think about, like, the budget itself?
It's definitely helped me. I don't think it's constrained me. It just helps me to have like a vision for where my money needs to go. I think if I didn't have a budget, I would feel probably more stressed out seeing my expenses going out and not fully knowing where everything is going. So having the budget and having it all laid out really helps me to kind of set the record straight for the month and remember like, oh, these are the things that I have, monthly bills that are going out every month. And then having like that ability to see what needs to change for the next month, planning ahead for big expenses that I know that are coming. So it's definitely been extremely helpful.
I love that. My heart is so happy, literally. Because you know what? I think budgeting is kind of tougher to learn when you have so many different moving parts. If you first learn how to do a budget and you've got 3 kids, you got a spouse, you got 2 full-blown careers, you've got in-laws you're dealing with, you got soccer practice for the kiddos. Like, honestly, there's so much going on. It's sometimes more challenging to learn it when life is just more complicated. It's not that it can't be done, but I think that the barriers that come up are just simply because life gets more full and more active and busy. And so I love that you're learning that today. So that's a really good skill that will last forever. So
Look, what excites me about that is that you're setting the foundation, and you know how I talk a lot about foundation because if you build the foundation and you set it right, it sets the course for the rest of your journey, and that can set the course for the rest of your life because now you know how to do it, and it becomes easier as you do it, moving forward. Now, you may have points where the budget is challenging, or things are tight, or you've got extra added expenses. Then you just got to be flexible and nimble to operate within the budget. But I'm really excited to hear that you getting that foundational piece. And people, this is not a paid endorsement. This is freely given from Faith Young. So we just wanted to make sure we let you know
Off the
that.
dome.
no money has been exchanged in the making of this podcast. So, what do you feel like are some of the things that you're most proud that you've accomplished in your first year out of school?
Good question. I think I've, on top of just kind of like managing my expenses on my own, I know I've definitely had a lot of help from y'all here and there. For the most part, I'm responsible for all of it by myself, but I think like taking moments to celebrate myself and go do things I enjoy and recognizing that, like, hey, I worked for this money and I'm able to go do XYZ with it.
Let's talk about XYZ. What have you done this year that you're proud of?
I fully paid for a trip to Spain to go
Woohoo!
visit one of my friends.
All right, big time.
Yeah, it was my first international trip in a while. It's the first international trip I completely paid for on my own. So that was a really big deal for me. I was super nervous about it, but once I was in Spain, once I got there, it just felt like it was a really refreshing feeling, and I was very excited to do something, to be traveling alone, to be able to pay for it myself. It felt really good.
That's awesome. And what would you say you're working on? Like, what would you like to see improved in your finances at this phase in the game?
Definitely my savings. I get really stressed out too with like making decisions surrounding money as well. I want to work on making more savings, putting more into my savings account, and also just kind of growing more in my ability to make strong decisions around money and not being so nervous about it.
Yeah.
Look, but I think you're doing something that you didn't even know you were doing when it comes to planning for your future. And because you do work a corporate job and they have benefits available to you, tell the people a little bit about that decision that you've made.
Girl, you know what we talking about. That long-term savings.
Oh, my the 401k.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hello.
I be saving. I be saving. It kind of feels like I don't even think about it though, because you kind of just sign up and you're like, oh, I'll invest this much, and then that's it. So it's cool to like go back and look at it and be like, oh, I forgot about this. So yeah, I have one of those now.
And because they payroll deduct that, you don't even feel it. Like you said, you don't even think about it. And then the company is matching money that you put in. And so as a young person, I'm very proud because you are doing those things that are going to help not only give you successes in the short term, but definitely give you successes in the long term.
Yeah. So, what do you feel like is one of the most important things a parent can teach their child about finances so that they're ready for where you are right now?
Honestly, I think if you're not, I think my biggest thing was like I had a lot of responsibility over my finances in college as well. So having that experience and then going into adulthood was really helpful. But I would definitely say like you need a budget. It helps a lot. But also just kind of stressing the fact that like having that much responsibility over the money that's coming in, it's really stressful. It can be a lot to manage on your own. And just kind of stressing that point and being like, it's definitely not going to be easy. You definitely can't just start blowing the bank because I learned that the hard way. And just making sure that, young adults know like it's going to be an experience. It's going to be a challenge.
Look, I think it's okay though to have some experiences along the way that kind of open your eyes because no matter how many times someone tells it to you, it doesn't become real until you experience it for yourself. And so, like, you can't blow the bank because you're like, well, hold up, that wasn't in the budget, or I didn't plan that accordingly. And then, do you find yourself having to adjust and shift? Maybe you eating rice for a week.
Goodness. I'll get real strategic with my groceries when things get tough.
You've
Yeah.
learned that already, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what do you have that you're looking forward to this year that you've been able to accomplish on your own?
Beyonce. Yeah. All my Beyonce fans out there. I was really excited to be able to. I'm going to a lot of concerts the remainder of this year, actually. So it's nice to be able to have those luxuries and be able to pay for it. I'm very much looking forward to like embracing my passions more and digging deeper into that, and just learning more about myself, trying to figure out who is Faith the adult.
I love that. I love that. Do you feel like your friends are doing some of the things that you're doing, like budgeting or planning or thinking about saving in their 401k? Is that stuff happening in your circle?
Oh, I'm sure. I got friends that are about to get married. I got friends that have been working in corporate jobs for a couple of years now. Most of my friends are older than me, so we honestly don't talk about this stuff that much. But I feel like I should, because I'll be in my apartment stressing out, and maybe I should start asking some questions. But yeah.
Look, that was going to be a question I was going to ask you. Is like, I wonder how many of your friends feel the same way, or how many of your friends are doing the same thing, and how would you even approach that conversation, or how would you start a conversation with your friends about that?
I don't know. I feel like I haven't had like a serious conversation about money with my friends since college. I tell mom that I would be handing out that student budget template to all my friends when they were talking about how they didn't know how to manage their money, and I'd be like, "Girl, I got you," and I would send them my template that I use. But I haven't had like any conversations like that since graduating. I'm sure we're all dealing with the same thing, just kind of like in our own ways. It'd be really interesting to talk about that some more. I feel like at our age, it's maybe not a taboo, but almost like a hush hush kind of conversation to talk about like how much each other makes and how we manage our money. But I think finding connections through that would be something that we could do to kind of learn from each other and, you know, support each other.
Yeah, I think that's good because a lot of people, no matter where they are in life, feel like it's a hush hush or potentially taboo subject to discuss money. And maybe the first conversation isn't how much do you make? Maybe the conversation really is, do you have a budget, or this is what's helping me, or I'm going to see Beyonce because I put it in my budget, or I went to Spain because I actually planned for it. And so those kinds of things can open doors, or even I'm going out to eat with y'all next week because this week I'm doing something different. Those kinds of things can, and knowing that you have the voice and the confidence to speak up are easier ways to enter into those conversations, because I think it's important that everybody knows they're not alone. You don't have to stress out by yourself. You can make sure that you got somebody else to talk to all the time about it.
Look, we like to keep it real with our listeners, and we like to give them the good, the bad, the indifferent. So let's talk about something that over this last year financially that you've really struggled with. Like, what's something that you're still trying to work out or figure out, or that posed a situation over the last year?
I think the biggest thing that caused me stress financially was my rent. I'm able to afford where I live, but it definitely is a punch to the gut every time I see that money come out. I'm like, dang. So it's definitely been like very weird trying to make peace with that experience and recognizing like, yeah, housing is really expensive. Have to get used to that. But I am excited. I am moving in a month now, and my new rent will be more affordable. So I'm excited to kind of have more of that buffer and be able to save a little bit more, hopefully. I think just in general, like recognizing that bills as an adult are no joke, and they are there every single month. And I'm like, dang, like, can a girl get a break this one time?
Listen, for those people who are tapping in and listening to this conversation with our daughter Faith, this is the next generation coming up, and you sound like a mini financial expert from what I'm hearing.
LOL.
I love that. I so love that. Well, but I will say, when you were younger, you were like, Mom, I'm not doing anything with money. Like I'm not going into a field where I have to deal with this stuff. I remember you saying that specifically. And so I'm really glad that you're adopting it for your personal finances, because that's, you are the CEO of your finances. But you know what? I was thinking, and this is just a little bit of background. Dad and I, we really made sure that we wanted to start you off on a solid financial footing, because when we got married, we started off with $60,000 in debt between student loans, credit cards, and car payments.
Woo, Lord.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yowza.
Yes. And so you were able to go to school because you are a smart young lady. And
you.
yes, ma'am. And we didn't have to pay but like 10% of the total cost of your college education. And because of that, we had always said that if, you got scholarships and that kind of thing, we were going to gift you with the vehicle to, for your graduation present. And
Shout out Diamond.
come on now.
We
Yes.
love her.
And so we were able to start you off in that way. And I'm curious because, and this is off the cuff, this isn't something we really have talked about, but I'm curious on your thoughts on that, or how that has helped you, or how do you feel about being able to walk that out and knowing that you are the generation who has changed the game in our family?
Well, I will say it is so freeing to be debt free. I don't have any debt, I don't have any credit card debt. And that is such a great feeling, because even thinking about, I know that is hardly anyone else's situation. There's a lot of people who have a lot of debt and need to handle it however they please. And trying to conceptualize what my finances would look like, having to pay a car note or having to pay off debt, student loans, I cannot figure out like how I would be able to make all of that work. Something would definitely have to be different in order for me to live comfortably, be able to pay my own bills and expenses. I don't think I'd be living in the apartment that I'm living in right now. It'd be a very different life experience, and I am incredibly grateful for that. And shout out Diamond, love her. My car is one of my favorite things now. I love driving, and it was definitely like a big motivator when I was in college, when things were getting rough. I'm like, you want that car? Gotta get these A's.
Sounds like you would have been having a roommate
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
instead of being able to live on your own and have your own space and, kind of glide into adulthood. Not saying that any of it is easy, because we have ongoing conversations with you and we tell you that, we have experiences that you don't. And so we try and get you to, lean into that and reach out to us, and we can serve as advisors, because ultimately the decisions are still yours, because you are an adult now. But we still want to make sure that we're giving you good guidance and we're giving you input. Then it's up to you what you do with it. Just like everybody who's out there listening, all those parents who have kids, just know those lessons that you're telling them, those things that you're putting in them, they hear you. Whether you don't believe it today or not, because honestly, I didn't believe it. But here we are, fast forward, Faith is out here doing her thing. And those lessons are the groundwork that's helping her to walk out the life that she wants to live. And so just know, keep telling them, keep pressing them, keep lecturing them, because they're listening and they will hear it.
We do hear it. It is a catch-22 though, because all my life I'm like, man, he's saying the same thing. But now I will never forget it. I am grateful for the lessons because they have been very helpful as an adult.
I love hearing that. Like, my heart is so happy and full right now. I'm so thankful that you have come and shared with us.
Yay.
Do you feel like there is something from, your experience in our house that you just want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to hear, something that you want to leave our listeners with?
I don't know. I feel like the biggest thing that I learned from y'all is, yes, we had a lot of lectures growing up. We had a lot of lessons that we were learning, but a lot of the time it was like fun conversations. They were very bright, and I think that's why they resonated with me. It never felt like something that was overly serious. Like I knew the gravity of, being a financially responsible adult, but you always had an approach to it that made it at the time seem not as daunting, which is why I feel like I was receptive and open to hearing you and being like, maybe I do need a budget. Maybe I do need to save in my 401k. And I think that's why I was, actually implementing those things as an adult now.
That's so great.
Look, parents, it's those Jedi mind tricks. It's that reverse psychology.
Make it sound like a game and they'll love it for life.
Not it worked.
Well, Faith, we are so glad that you joined us and you shared your experiences, you shared your challenges, the areas that you're winning. And I think the insights that you have provided today were very beneficial. They were very refreshing. And so we appreciate you having that openness and candidness to share what your experience has been as you've come and started to matriculate and go through adulthood. And so before we get out of here, we always talk about how do you make it worth it? And so thinking about all those other young people that are out there that are your age, what's your 1 or 2 points that you would give them to make it worth it to walk into, a situation like yours?
One thing I'll say is if you have those like passions, those things you like to do on the side outside of your work that'll make you feel, that vibrancy you want in life as an adult, you definitely have to think about them in a responsible way. How can I fit this into my life financially? What do I have to shift in order to make it work? Definitely consider those things because, sometimes it'll feel like all I do is get up, go to work, feed myself, sleep, repeat. You need those extra things in life to keep it vibrant. And it is important to also plan for those, activities, the trips, going out to get drinks with your friends. As long as you plan for it, it won't be something that you feel like you have to sacrifice. Those things have been incredibly important to me. So I always try and make sure that I have the ability to go enjoy myself as an adult as well. So make sure to think about it responsibly first so that when you're in the moment, it's not, an alarm in the back of your head like, I can't actually afford this or I should be doing XYZ right now. You deserve to be a fun young adult in your 20s, having the time of your life, but also being responsible at the same time.
I love that. That balance is fantastic. And I think that's an important lesson because I think a lot of people definitely can see that budgeting could be a straitjacket if they don't have that balance. And so I'm really glad that you brought that up. That is a super great point and something that is important to learn while you're young so that, as you grow, as your responsibilities increase and as you have more life to live, you have that grounding and that foundation that will help you in the future. So I'm really proud of you. I'm really glad that you have taken that on and you have learned some lessons and are figuring out some of the stuff on your own as well. I think that just really makes for a proud parent for sure.
Look, I don't think I could have said it any better. And so I'm going to just leave it right there. And so we appreciate you guys tuning in and listening and hearing what Faith had to share with you all. And until next time,
we're out.
Bye.
Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all your support. So be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up for our email on forbetterandworth.com.
Till next time, we're out of here.